Good evening, everyone. It is 7 o'clock on the dot, and we're about to get started. Welcome to the the Durham County Board of Commissioners regular session. Today is March 23rd, 2026. I'll open this session with our public charge. The Board of Commissioners asks its members and residents to conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous manner, both with the board and fellow residents. At any time, should any member of the board or any resident fail to observe this public charge, the chair will ask the offending person to leave the meeting until that individual regains personal control. Should decorum fail to be restored, the chair will recess the meeting until such time that a genuine commitment to the public charge is observed. Commissioner Valentine, would you read the land acknowledgement?
Mr. Chair, thank you so much. But could I just take a moment of personal privilege?
Absolutely.
The chamber is full of a lot of people here today. And I just want to say thank you. When I look out and see so many unfamiliar faces, I think to myself, we have a community who is committed to change. So thank you for being with us here today. All right, so the land acknowledgement. As we convene for the Durham County Commissioners meeting, it's crucial to recognize the painful truth of history. We stand on the stolen ancestral lands of the Catawba, the Eno, the Occaneechi, the Shakori, and the Tuscarora peoples whose deep connection to this land predates our arrival. We acknowledge with humility the unjust displacement and violence that occurred, leading to the dispossession of indigenous peoples from their homelands. Their resilience in the face of such adversity is a testament to their strength and spirit. May we humbly honor the ancestors and elders of these nations, both past and present, by committing ourselves to fostering understanding, healing, and justice for all who inhabit this land. Let us walk forward together with open hearts, acknowledging the past and embracing a future guided by compassion, respect, and unity.
Thank you, Commissioner Valentine. Appreciate that. Commissioner Burton, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Commissioner Burton. The next item on our agenda is agenda adjustments. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please use the same sign. Passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda are the announcements. Clerk Wallace.
Good evening, everyone. I will read the announcements published in tonight's agenda. The next joint city-county violence reduction learning session will be held on Tuesday, March 24th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at the Holton Resource Center located at 401 North Driver Street. Letitia McNeil, Greensboro Director of Community Safety, will be the keynote speaker for the session. The initiative is jointly led by Durham County's Justice Services Department and Community Intervention and Support Services Department, along with the city's Police Department and Community Safety Department. For additional information, you can visit www.durhamnc.gov. The public is invited to attend Durham County government's moderated virtual community conversation to hear directly from key county staff about operations and budget priorities on Monday, March 30th from 7 till 8:30 p.m. The session will include a live Q&A Registration information will be shared in the coming weeks and also posted on the county's website, www.dconc.gov. Registration is now open for the 4-H summer camps. The Durham 4-H summer camps empower youth through meaningful conversations, hands-on experiences, and essential life skills that support their growth. A limited number of scholarships are available to cover costs. You can learn more and apply, and there is a link on the site. The deadline for registration is April 17th. Join Breastfeed Durham for a free community celebration on Saturday, May 2nd from 3 till 6 p.m. at Hillside Park located at 1301 South Roxborough Street. The celebration brings families, health professionals, and local organizations together to support the well-being of pregnant families and young children. It will also include live entertainment, food trucks, children's activities, health information, and community resources. Special guests include Pierce Freeline, Emmy Award-winning producer and Durham native. He will join and he will also do a live reading and performance featuring his books, Daddy Daughter Day and Daddy and Me Side by Side. For additional information, you can visit breastfeeddurham.org. Measles can cause serious illness, especially in young children, adults over 20, pregnant individuals, and those who are immunocompromised. Protect yourself and others by staying up to date on measles vaccination. As cases arise, now is the time to make sure you're vaccinated. Measles vaccines are available at the Durham County Public Health Immunization Clinic. You can contact 919-560-7608 for more information. Durham County is partnering with Durham Benefits Access Coalition to promote free and accessible tax filing options. You may qualify for valuable tax credits that help with housing, food, childcare, and more. Households earning $89,000 or less can file online with chat, email support, or virtual assistance from IRS certified preparers. It is important to know that tax refunds do not count against SNAP, WIC, SSI, Medicaid, Medicare, TANF, or other benefits. File by date is April 15th, and you can visit www.getyourrefund.org. Durham County has officially renamed the former Admin 2 building at 200 East Main Street as the William V. Bell Building. A dedication ceremony was held on Friday, March 20th, celebrating the legacy of former Commissioner and Mayor William V. Bill Bell, whose decades of leadership and service has left a lasting impression on the community. I have two additional announcements that were not included in tonight's agenda. One is that Sheriff Burkhead has been invited to appear and testify on Wednesday, March 25th, at the Senate Committee on the Judiciary Subcommittee on the Constitution hearing entitled Protecting American Citizenship to Federalism, Sanctuary Cities, and the Rule of Law. The hearing is scheduled to begin at 2 p.m. in room 226 at the Dixon Senate Office Building located in Washington, D.C. And lastly, RDU Airport Authority will hold a public gift card donation drive during the government shutdown. Donations can be dropped off at the Terminal 1 and Terminal 2, TSA supervisor podiums at the deck of the checkpoint, or simply ask a supervisor or manager. 250 Food Line gift cards were delivered to TSA on Friday, March 13th, which were donated by the food bank. That concludes the announcements in tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Clerk Wallace. And I just wanted to echo the William V. Bell building ceremony. It was spectacular. It was excellent, and it was well deserved. And I just have to continue to give praise to the staff that made it happen. It went very, very smooth. And when something looks smooth and easy, that means someone behind the scenes was working really hard to make it go smooth and easy. The building looks wonderful. The letters on the building, on the sign, is just wonderful. Everything involved went great. And so I just want to lift up the staff again. for all the prep they gave to me, to host it, but also everything that they did to make it happen. It was just wonderful. I just want to lift them up for that. Commissioner Alum.
Thank you, Chair Lee. Yes, I've seen pictures. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend the naming because it was our Eid holiday, but want to echo sentiments from the staff. I saw like a few days before when I was walking on Main Street. I was like, oh, what are they doing? They're pulling out all these letters and new construction, but it was really great to see it even in the process, the amount of effort that went into it, even the manual labor that the staff also put in to renaming, but also Manager Hager, I heard you did an amazing job as MC and keeping the whole program, or Chair Lee MC, and Manager Hager speaking, and Commissioner Valentine. I also had two additional announcements I wanted to share that I know that there's a lot of fear in the community right now with the government shutdown about increased presence of ICE in multiple airports. I saw several people posting wondering if RDU is one of the airports. RDU is not listed on the current list of airports where ICE is going to be, present to step in the place of the TSA shortages due to the government funding shutdown. So wanting to ease, hopefully, and keep that ease for folks that we don't have that presence of ICE in our airport. And also, if unfortunately there is still ICE presence in areas, that if you guys see ICE or think you see ICE, it's important to reach out to community organizations like Siembra, North Carolina, that are doing verification. You can call or text them at 336-543-0353, and it's important to reach out to them and have them conduct a proper verification so that we don't, start fear and instill fear in our community members with unverified sightings. So that's one thing. And then also with this increased threat of ICE presence, our immigrant communities, unfortunately, this leads to a lot of community members feeling unsafe to even leave their homes, to drop off their kids to school, to go grocery shopping. So I would urge everyone to support the drive that's happening at RDU Airport, but also we have here in Durham and Durham County our Welcome Baby program, which is out of the cooperative extension that collects groceries, formula, baby clothes, all sorts of supplies and things that can help all of our families here in Durham County, but especially our immigrant community members who may be more fearful of leaving and going out into, grocery stores and public spaces. So I would urge everyone, if you have the resources, I've even donated things from my pregnancy that I'm not using anymore that they actually are able to use and have different sanitation tools and resources that a lot of things, if they're in good condition, you can donate and another family can make good use of it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Burton.
Thank you, Chair Lee. And I'm glad that Clerk Wallace mentioned about TSA and about the gift cards that are being donated, because a lot of people in our wider community don't realize they haven't been paid for over a month, and they have to continue to work because they're considered essential. And many people have been reading about now they're ICE agents. They're not at RDU like Vice Chair Alam said, but however, really concerned about people working without getting any pay. So just want to lift that up. I'm definitely going to go out to Terminal 1 and Terminal 2 and give some gift cards so people can at least get some food, get some gas in their cars, because gas is really expensive. But on a brighter note, I just want to shout out the branch manager at Bracktown Branch Library. I was there last week, and I hadn't been there in a number of years, and it's just a gem in the Bracktown community with the history. It opened in 1964 with it was part of the Durham Colored Library System, and then it got merged into the wider Durham County Library System. And it's just a really great resource in our community. I really enjoyed being there, and I told the branch manager, Ms. Brown, that I would shout them out while I was on the dais. And they're open from 10 to 6, Monday through Friday. So if you want to go out there and just see their wonderful collection of children's books, go and see it. So thank you so much.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you. I just first of all wanted to add to the announcement about people being able to get help with their taxes at the main library. And there's also, will be in our announcements how you can get help locally. This is an effort that is happening in Durham to make sure that people have access to all the benefits that they are eligible for. And Councilmember Rist is one of the folks who is helping to lead that effort, and he wanted me to mention, to remind parents that when you are filing your taxes this year, if you are a parent of a newborn child who has been born since January 1st, 2025, you can register to receive a one-time $1,000 deposit in what's called a 530A, or the Trump account, and that kids born after January 1st, 2025, but 10 years old or younger. So if you have a child at home who is older, 10 years or younger, you may also qualify for a $250 deposit in a 530A account. And after your children turn 18 years of age, these funds can be used for education, home ownership, or a business startup. So we are locally trying to get the word out about the 530A accounts, or otherwise known as the Trump accounts, to parents when they are filing taxes this year. Also want to highlight just a few things that were not in our announcements but are in the Durham County newsletter. And if you do not subscribe to the newsletter, I really encourage you. It is chock full of great information that the county manager puts out every week. And you can go to the Durham County website to sign up. But some of the things related to children and getting kids engaged in activities for the summer, we know that's one of the most important things. We heard in the announcements about the 4-H camps. We also have highlighted Kids Voting Durham through our cooperative extension is having a Kids Voting Durham internship for youth ages 14 to 24. We also have sign-ups for the Durham Pre-K right now that are open. That is, if you can find that also on the Durham County website. Also, Sunbucks. The Sunbucks program is, the deadline is March 31st. This is really important for all school-age children to get food during the summer. So please look into that if you have not, if you have school-age children and you have not signed up for that. And then lastly, another great opportunity for high school students at NC State is the North Carolina Resource Conservation Workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacobs. Commissioner Valentine.
Yes, Chair, I will end our remarks where we started, saying congratulations to our mayor for life, Mayor Bell, and thank you to the community. The reason that the naming occurred was because of the push from the community, and so I want to say thank you to the community for showing up in large numbers to recognize Mayor Bell. And I want to reiterate some comments that you made about our staff. General Services, Engineering, the manager, and absolutely everyone who played a part in the ceremony. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And Chair Lee, you did it with class. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Valentine. Okay. The next item on our agenda, we're moving into ceremonial items. The first is a resolution recognizing 25 years of farmland protection in Durham County. We do have a resolution. Commissioner Jacobs is going to read it, and I believe we have some people in our audience related to this, and so we'll have you come speak after the resolution has been read. I'll turn it over to you, Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you. It is my honor to read this resolution. 25 years of Durham County's commitment to farmland preservation. Whereas Durham County recognizes farmland as essential for local food production, water quality, wildlife habitat, and the rural landscapes that define the community. And whereas preserving farmland supports a resilient food system, sound agricultural practices, and access to healthy, locally grown food for future generations. And whereas the county's farmland preservation efforts began in 2001 with the Herndon family's first conservation easement, establishing a model of voluntary conservation. And whereas 2026 marks the 25th anniversary of this work, during which the county has completed 30 easements protecting 2,491 acres and ensuring the viability of 20 family farms. And whereas these efforts strengthen the agricultural economy, support farmers, and enhance environmental resilience by maintaining open space and protecting natural resources. And whereas strong fiscal partnerships, especially with the United States Department of Agriculture, Natural Resources Conservation Service, have enabled the county to secure $6.28 million in grants, $5.14 million in landowner donations, and invest $3.58 million to protect easements valued at $15 million. And whereas the program continues to grow with 5 additional farms totaling 137 farms and $706,000 in 137 acres, not farms, and 137 farms, and $706,000 in secured funding scheduled to close soon. And whereas Durham County remains committed to advancing farmland preservation through strategic partnerships, innovative policies, and voluntary conservation programs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Durham County Board of Commissioners celebrates 25 years of farmland preservation leadership, expresses gratitude to landowners, partners, and fiscal supporters, reaffirms its commitment to protecting farmland as a foundation of the county's economy, environment, and heritage, and commits to expanding preservation efforts and supporting the next generation of farmers. This, the 23rd day of March 2026, Dr. Mike Lee, Chair, Nida Alam, Vice Chair, Michelle Burton, Commissioner, Wendy Jacobs, Commissioner, Stephen Valentine, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacobs.
Wonderful. I'm Nicole Conley. I'm chair of the Durham County Farmland Preservation Board, and I just wanted to say a few thank yous. First of all, thank you to this board for this resolution and for your ongoing support and commitment to preserving farmland in Durham County and to supporting agriculture and the work that we do at large. We are really grateful and recognize that we are really blessed to have a board that is so supportive. I would like to thank all of the Farmland Board members, past and present, who have been part of making this program successful and helping to preserve farmland. And all important, but importantly as well, I would like to thank members of our Open Space Board who have been the real architects and horsepower behind making this happen. Jane Corrist, who over the years worked tirelessly to build this program and help Durham County, frankly, be a leader in the state in the conservation of farmland. I'd like to thank Celeste Burns, who will speak here in a moment, and Jill Fusco as well for their ongoing work that they do here. And then now, most importantly, I'd like to thank the landowners who have made the commitment to protect their farmland so that future generations in Durham County have a place to farm. We're so grateful. Thank you.
Could you please stand? Could they stand?
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be
please
wonderful.
stand.
Can we get the farmland owners who are part of the conservation easement to stand so we can thank you? I'm going to hand it over to Celeste.
Yeah, thank you for letting me take a few moments here. This is this work that I'm very passionate about. I'm Celeste Burns, Open Space and Real Estate Manager. Again, thank you to the Board of County Commissioners now and in the past. Thank you to the Farmland Preservation Board. Without their understanding and of agricultural history and future, their work is really critical. It's great to work with Sherry and Lisa alongside that board. I'm really appreciative of that. I want to shout out our Open Space and Real Estate team, who really helped make the nuts and bolts of these complicated projects fit together. And again, I do want to acknowledge Jane Corrist. She wanted to be here tonight, but is out of town enjoying her retirement. But she really laid the foundation for this work, worked with so many of y'all, and over the years, and is really kind of, her foundation is why we can do this. We have some guest stars in the audience. I want to recognize USDA partners with Natural Resource Conservation Service. Would y'all stand up? Brian Lodholt and Julius George, our Assistant State Conservationists. Thank you. Without that partnership, this work would be really difficult. And their guidance and patience and good sense of humor through lots of bureaucracy, we are making this happen, and I'm so grateful to be able to work with you. And last but not least, I want to acknowledge our landowners. There are many who aren't with us anymore, and I want to think about them. And there are people who were not able to make it here tonight, and then we've got this lovely group of people who came out on a Monday night to be recognized. I really appreciate that. I really thank you for your commitment, your vision, your generosity, your patience. I mean, you're protecting farmland and natural resources and soils, but you're really protecting something that we don't even see in the future with the future generation. It's truly my pleasure and privilege to work with you all. And thank you. I'm going to make sure all of our landowners get a copy of this signed, if that's possible.
Absolutely. We'll make sure that happens.
Thank you so much.
And we're going to do commissioner comments, and then we're going to invite everyone down, and we'll take a picture with the resolution right here in the front, okay?
That sounds great.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Well, thank you for your words, Celeste and Nicole. I also wanted to recognize all of our open space and real estate staff that are here, our soil and water staff that are here, our farmland board members, and our cooperative extension staff. Could you all please stand as well, everyone who's here? Yeah. This is truly about teamwork and partnership in Durham County, and I am so grateful to each of the farmers and landowners who are here. As Celeste said, thanks to your generosity, the gift that you are giving to our entire community for generations to come. You really are leaving a legacy, you and your families, and we are so grateful to you. And I think it's fitting that I think it was at our last meeting that we talked about the farm campus, that we are launching Durham County's farm campus, and being able to, we got a grant to hire a director, and that really demonstrates the commitment that we have in Durham County to protecting our soil, our water, our air, and also our soil for food, for healthy local food. So thank you again to everyone for making this possible, this 25th celebration. Thank you.
Commissioner Lum.
Thank you, Chairley. Thank you so much to the Farmland Conservation Board, to all our farmland owners, for y'all for creating the food that gives us sustenance. So often we just walk into the grocery store and we kind of just take for granted. We pick up our groceries and keep moving on with our lives and don't think about how much hard work and dedication goes in, not just to grow those particular crops and those fruits and vegetables and food, but also when it's not season, the way y'all have to work the land to make sure that it's ready. And I think it's important for us to recognize this, not only for farmland conservation, because I know that the resolution our commission recognizes like the positives of it, but also just recognizing what we've lost, that like over the last decade, I think it's like nearly 20% of farmland in Durham County has been lost. That in North Carolina, over 8 million acres of farmland has been lost, of farm owners just sometimes not able to sustain the business because of climate change impacts, of shorter seasons, the way that droughts and flooding impacts just all's ability to be able to grow the fruits and vegetables that we need. So I think it's really important. I'm glad that we have this opportunity to recognize our farmland owners, and also people may forget that we have farm owners in Durham County because they think of us as like a more urban hub, an urban center. But no, we have a lot of folks that are producing so many things that we need, not just for us, but for future generations to come. And for our residents and neighbors to recognize the importance of farmland recognition, but also when you go out and buy your groceries, look at the labels sometimes and try to buy from local farms as much as you can. Go to your farmer's market, go to your local markets that you see that it's like this is a North Carolina farm, and support our local farmers in that way as well.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Lum. Commissioner Burton.
Yeah, I just want to say this is one of the boards that I serve on, and it's been a pleasure being the liaison to the Farmland Protection Board. I have learned a lot about easements. I've learned a lot about voluntary protection of farms since I've been on there. It's been a great pleasure, and I'm looking forward to continue to serve. And I learned a lot. There was a farmer's breakfast, and an attorney from NC State came, and I learned a lot about farm law. Like, that was just like, wow, to think about all the things that farmers and growers have to think about with their farms. So it's been such a pleasure being the liaison to the Farmland Protection Board, and thank you for all that you do, making sure that farmland is protected here in Durham County.
Commissioner Valentine.
Yes, thank you, Chair. First, let me just say thank you to the Farmland Board for the work that you do in this community, and again to all of our partners in this work, and more especially to our landowners. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for being so gracious. Thank you for the hard work that you put in when no one's looking. Being the grandson of a farmer, Ms. Carrington asked me earlier that I'd farm. No, but I'm the grandson of a farmer. And so thank you for what you do each and every day. And I'll end my comments by saying thank you to our partners from the federal government with the Department of Agriculture. We couldn't do it without you. Thank you.
Vice Chair Lum.
Yes, I just wanted to add a quick thing. I hope that we're going to bring back the farm campus tour again, where we all hopped on a bus and got to tour our local farms across Durham County. That was a really great way for me, last board, I didn't even know there was a blueberry farm right by my house that now my family goes and buys ice cream from. So I would love for us to be able to revamp that as well.
All right, thank you very much. So we're going to take a picture. We'll go ahead and take a picture and we'll move forward.
The picture is for everyone. If you're part of the cooperative extension, farmland owner, USDA, everyone come for the picture. All right, that is excellent, excellent. Thank you all. Congratulations again. All right, if my fellow commissioners would grant me just a moment, we need to step backwards in the agenda to approve the minutes
I skipped right over it because I was so excited about the proclamation. So I'll accept a motion to approve our Board of Commissioners meeting minutes for February 2nd, 2026.
Chair, I'll make a motion to. I did have one question related to the minutes.
Okay.
There are a lot of directives in these minutes, and it occurred to me that I don't know what our current system is for actually following up on tracking directives.
So we track the directives, so we can make sure at the next work session that we give the updated list to the board.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. So I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the February 2nd, 2026 work session.
Well, that's her making the motion, by the way, not entertaining it.
What did I say?
You said entertain.
Oh,
so
sorry.
We'll accept that as the motion.
Yes, I think
Second?
I would make a motion. Thank you.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we approve the meeting minutes for February 2nd, 2026. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please use the same sign. The meetings have been approved unanimously. Okay, so we have a couple of resolutions. I believe there's a couple of them that we're going to just make note of, and we'll have those come to speak. So the next one, these are to be acknowledged. So the proclamation for National County Government Month 2026. Is anybody going to speak on that? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Deborah.
Good evening, Chair Lee and Commissioners. I'm Deborah Craig-Ray, Chief Communications Officer, and I want to thank you for recognizing National County Government Month. Certainly, this is an activity from the National Association of Counties that began in 1991. The goal was to recognize our 3,069 counties. The goal is to educate the community about what counties do for them. And certainly the next objective is to honor our employees who work day in and day out to provide the services. And finally, the goal is to increase civic participation, to have the community attend meetings and take note of the great things that we're doing in the community. And so that's sort of the background of National County Government Month. I'm going to just mention just a couple of small things that we are working on, and I'm joined by Dawn Dudley of my staff and Dr. Brent Lewis of Human Resources. We are working as a team this year to provide observance of National County Government Month. Weekly, you'll notice that we highlight a bit of Durham County's history, facilities, and special programs or projects on our social media platforms and internal channels. Among the events that we will host for the community will be a nature walk led by our open space division, a hybrid public art walk, and What Counties Do session with local college students. Beginning April 1st, you'll be able to watch a segment of In Touch dedicated to National County Government Month. And tomorrow, our PIO team will record a session of our DECO Talk session featuring North Carolina Collection Manager Lauren Penny, who will discuss the history of Durham and Durham County government. So that's just a few things that we're doing, but again, our goal is to celebrate all month. And thank you, as always, for your support.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Craig-Ray. All right. The next proclamation that I'm sorry.
Yes,
we can speak on it.
I
I'm
just
sorry.
wanted to make a comment. Thank you, Deborah, for highlighting National County Government Month. I think that this is more important than ever because, honestly, what is happening in our country right now and what is happening at the federal government, that we are all feeling it here the most at the county level. I read over the NACO, National Association of County Officials, newspaper last night, and it was interesting to me. Were recounting speeches from people who are in the federal government, who are in the cabinet, head of different departments, speaking at that conference, and over again they would say, well, you at the county level, you're the ones who are closest to the people. You're where the work really happens, and that is absolutely true. The problem is right now is that we are being really left on our own without the support from our federal government, and in a state like North Carolina, where we're the only state that hasn't had an approved budget. So I just think I want to highlight at this moment in time that we are local county government. We are the government that is day in and day out, our employees, our staff who are taking care of people in our community, and it is just very challenging right now. And we are also the front line of democracy. Running elections, things like that, it's all here at the county level. So I hope that we'll talk more about that during this month, and also to highlight what is happening at the state level right now. There may be a constitutional amendment on our ballots here in North Carolina coming up in the fall election that could be very frightening, to limit the power of local governments at the county level to have control over property taxes. And unfortunately, that is one of the only tools that we have to pay for the services we provide. And it's estimated that between 70 and 75% of our services go to mandated state and federal programs and services. So if we don't have the money to pay for those required services, like law enforcement, like our sheriff, like our EMS, like fire, responding to fires, things like that, and of course the many other things we do, it is going to be very, very difficult. So I just wanted to take a moment really to highlight this important issue. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? All right, thank you. The next proclamation we will acknowledge is a proclamation for Second Chance Month 2026.
Good evening. I'm Robin Heath. I'm the Assistant Director of the Justice Services Department, and I want to start by thanking you guys, the board, for your steadfast support of Second Chance efforts and of valuing all of our citizens, even those that are justice involved. This month we have a number of different activities that are planned, and Rashida will share with our calendar to celebrate and recognize the challenges of those that are justice involved. We're going to kick off the month. I hope everyone will have a chance to come through our parking lot, because we're going to kind of chalk it up and just really try to start raising awareness with some sidewalk chalk and some artistic abilities of some previous clients and current clients and JSD staff all, just to start raising that awareness. And the second week of the month, we have our jail transition staff as well as our local reentry council staff will attend a state conference in Raleigh with the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections. And I was at a meeting last week with the North Carolina Joint Reentry Commission, and they were really talking a lot about the Reentry 2030 and how far along North Carolina is in just moving forward on justice involvement and making second chances a reality. So we're excited to see that North Carolina is moving forward, but Durham has always been at the forefront of that in North Carolina. The third week, we're going to be partnering with public health to do a balanced bites where we're going to offer information about hypertension and diabetes and do a nutritious cooking class. And on the 21st, we will have a reentry and reconnection. That'll be a panel and resource fair for families who are having people come back from incarceration. This will be the first time we have done this, but we have definitely found a need that families need to know how to support their loved ones as they come home. And we're going to kind of close out our month on the 24th with a sock hop. So we hope everybody can join us on that. We want to have some fun. The admission cost is a pair of socks that will be used for our clients, or $5 value in hygiene products. These are items that we use a lot, and we find our clients are consistently in need of these things. And so we thought this would be a way to raise some supplies and have some fun. There will be food trucks in the parking lot, and we've got some door prizes that have been donated, and we will have awards for best dancer and that best retro costume or outfit. So looking forward to everybody.
All right. Thank you very much. Commissioner comments? Thoughts? Vice Chair Long.
Yes, I just want to shout out the Justice Resource Center and office for all the work that y'all do to support our justice-involved residents and our neighbors who are trying to get back on their feet and support their families and live their lives like all of us are. And so thank you so much for the work that you put in and all the ways that you also support families before they become justice involved as well, to make sure that we are able to prevent and have that intervention opportunity to support all of our Durham residents, and also the ways, I know it's listed somewhat here with like the family events, but I think it's also important to recognize the work that the Justice Resource Center does with young people whose families and parents may be justice involved, and to support the kids here in Durham County's community to make sure that they're taken care of and still feel the love and care of the broader Durham community, and so that they don't get left behind in any way. So really grateful for the work you all do, because it truly comes from the heart. And also, I know Sheriff Burkhead is here. Thank you to Sheriff Burkhead and his team for the efforts and work that they do within the jail of providing services and programming through continued education, through MAT, to help our residents get back on their feet when they re-enter into the community.
Commissioner Valentine.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So thank you for highlighting the need for a second chance. And it's not just this month, but it's every day. When individuals leave our community, it's important that they re-enter. Re-enter for a spouse who may have gone without a loved one. Re-entry for a family that potentially has lost an income. For a community. And so when we talk about second chances, we're talking about our neighbors. Just today, I had an opportunity to talk to a young man who was doing work in my home, and this subject actually came up. And he said, "Valentine, you're a commissioner, aren't you?" He said, "What are you doing about people who are re-entering into our society from prison, and they need access to a job, and they need access to services?" And so we talked for about an hour as he was doing some work in my home about this very subject. And so although we're celebrating it as a month, and in fact it's every day that we should be concerned about reintegrating people back into our community. And so thank you for the work that you do in this space.
Commissioner Burton.
Yeah, I just want to echo what my colleagues have said. Thank you for doing this work. I'm reading a book right now talking about gun violence, and that a lot of between the ages of 18 and 30 is the ages where most people, young people, are affected by gun violence, right? And in many instances, it's like a split-second decision, right? It's in the heat of the moment. It's not premeditated. And so as they are unfortunately incarcerated, and they get out, they're like, okay, why did I do this? You know, they're mature, they've grown and things like that. And yeah, they need a second chance, because if they could go back, they wouldn't have done it. So we appreciate the work that you're doing, and I'm going to make sure to bring some toiletries, because I know that's something that people definitely need. As a former educator, that's something that we had to provide a lot to our young people. So thank you so much.
And in my haste, I forgot to introduce our new local reentry council coordinator, Rashida Royster, who is standing here beside me. But she's the one, doing the work every day. So I just want to recognize her here. Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you, Rashida. I also want to just lift up our Justice Services Department, and we have our director right here, Roshana Humphreys, and also our Justice Resource Center. Durham County has been a national model, a national leader in this work, and I want to lift up the meaning of Second Chance Month. People will come back to our community, and we want to make sure that they are productive members of our society, and also with their family. We want to give them the support and set them up for success. So thank you to the Reentry Council for what you do. I want to emphasize that Durham County is a second chance employer, and we follow the practices of Ban the Box with our employment practices, and we want to encourage all employers in Durham to be second chance employers. And recently, Duke University announced a new initiative around jobs and workforce development, and they have committed to hiring more people who are reentering and who are justice involved. So I want to applaud our biggest employer in Durham County, Duke University, for doing this. And Roshana, are they working with you on that? Well, could we have you come and comment?
Yeah.
I see Andy back there too.
I apologize. I tried to give the staff the spotlight tonight. But yes, we have been working with Duke. Andy Miracle and myself, we have been appointed to Duke's Economic Mobility Council. The council is working on strategies to promote employment across sectors. They have a whole plan that's being laid out. But in addition to that, we were visited at Justice Services Department about 2 weeks ago from 4 senior human resource executives from Duke to talk about a pilot project with us to help to bring justice-involved individuals into jobs at Duke. And so we are working with that group to try to figure out what that pilot will look like and how individuals that are working with us and enrolled in our programs can then go into that pilot program. So we're excited about working with them, because we have been trying to get our clients into Duke for many, many years. And so we can't be more happy that they reached out to us and have come to visit. They wanted to see our operation. It was a great visit, and they seem very motivated to move forward with this project.
Well, this is fantastic news. Thank you, Andy and Roshana, for helping to make this possible. This is an incredible opportunity for people in our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your support.
And thank you all for this important work. Very, very important work. So thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome.
Okay. And our last proclamation for acknowledgement tonight is the proclamation for Fair Housing Month. Yeah, there we are.
Oh, okay. Good evening. Thank you all for having us tonight. My name is Sandra Trice-Jones. I'm the president at the Durham Regional Association of Realtors. And I'd like to acknowledge our DEI chair, Sharon Sunkel, who usually does this. who said in her big pocketbook she doesn't have her reader, so I have to come up here. I know she's telling a story. So, again, on behalf of the Durham Regional Association of Realtors, we are honored to receive this Fair Housing Proclamation from your board. Yeah, fair housing is about access, equity, and ensuring everyone has a fair chance at home ownership. And we work to do this every day, so I want to thank you all for acknowledging us again this year. Thanks.
No, thank you so much. Commissioner, comments on the proclamation acknowledgement? Commissioner Valentine.
Just thank you for bringing forward this resolution. I think as we continue to see, housing prices go up and our community members being pushed out, this is a really important conversation we need to continue to keep at the forefront. Even, I know I told Chair Lee, I was in New York this weekend and was traveling around with a friend who's a community organizer there, and through Harlem and just learning about what's happening there that I'm sure is happening all across the country. Thankfully not here in Durham yet, but of public housing communities, these corporations that are coming in to try to privatize and purchase all of these properties to make it harder and harder for low-income communities, middle-class income families to be able to buy homes. So really appreciate the work that y'all are doing to make sure that housing is equitable and bringing this forward to us to help recognize. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Alam. Commissioner Valentine.
Chair, thank you. Madam President, thank you for being with us here this evening. And so the Fair Housing Act, as you know, is very important, particularly in the African American community. And so it's one of the trifecta. The 1964 passage of the Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and in 1968, following the death of Dr. Martin Luther King, you had the Fair Housing Act that was passed. And so it's not lost on me that many in our community still are denied access to a very important part of our existence, and that's housing. And so the work that you do every day is important. And so I want to thank you, and I also want to thank you for appearing here today. And I too have readers that I need. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Okay, and that is our ceremonial items for tonight. The next item on our agenda is approval of the consent agenda. There are a few items on the consent agenda, and they've been vetted. We've talked about them in our work session with the staff. And so I will accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and probably seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion on any of the items? All right, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please use the same sign. The consent agenda passes unanimously. The next item on our agenda are public hearings. I think we have one. Yep. We have one public hearing, and this is a public hearing to consider an economic development agreement with Welcome Venture Park, LLC. Matt.
Yes, sir. Good evening. My name is Matthew Filter. I'm the Economic Development Manager for Durham County. Tonight we're holding a public hearing to consider an economic development agreement with Welcome Venture Park, LLC. This is honestly just a really unique partnership that the county, particularly economic development and transportation, has undertaken with Welcome Venture Park. And I'd like to recognize Randy Warren, who's in the audience. He's a representative from the company who's here tonight. So I just want to spend just a minute or two just kind of presenting the highlights of what this agreement would be, pending your approval. The agreement to be negotiated and executed by the county manager would include three parts. One, it would be a reimbursement payment from the county to the company of $1 million following satisfactory completion of sewer utility infrastructure necessary to enhance the business prospects of the county. The next piece would be a real estate option given to us for $1, permitting future acquisition of 1420 Old Oxford Road for a sales price of $1 million, following a due diligence period, after which we could decide whether or not we wanted to purchase the property. And then a community benefits package, including community commitments to internships and workforce development programming. For background, Welcome Venture Park is a 157-acre industrial and business park in North Durham along Hamlin Road. Construction is ongoing. It's occurring in 3 phases, and upon completion, it's estimated the site will collectively produce approximately $270 million in new taxable value and support 300 or more new jobs. Both phase 1 and 2, it's being done in multiple phases, have adequate utility capacity, but the third phase does not have adequate sewer capacity. The cost of those upgrades is about $2.7 million. The county is being asked to contribute $1 million towards this project, which would only be paid out upon satisfactory completion of the sewer upgrades. Upon build-out and occupancy of phase 3, it's estimated that phase 3 alone would contribute $6 million in new tax revenue to the county over 10 years. The county's willingness to consider financial support for this project is directly linked to the fact that the county also is interested in an undeveloped parcel that the company owns adjacent to the future Durham-Roxborough Rail Trail. The rail trail plan, approved by the board last year, determined that this general location was ideal for a future trailhead. So preliminarily, the parcel that we're considering acquiring could include restrooms, parking, open space, other rail-related programming as that materializes down the road. So to that end, they're going to grant us a 6-month option for $1, after which we can either decide to purchase the property for that purpose or not. The market value, as assessed by analytical consultants, was about to be $1.1 million. The parcel is otherwise not for sale and was intended to be used by the company. So this is something we worked with them to negotiate on. It's not out there for sale to just anyone. The most important issue to be studied and resolved during the due diligence period is environmental testing. Currently, this site and several others in the area are considered brownfields, but we don't really have a lot of detailed testing on this particular small parcel alone. So a key part of our due diligence period will just be working with our state partners at DEQ and the developer and our internal folks to determine if it's an appropriate usage of the property. Then at the end of the due diligence period, we could either buy it or not buy it. Lastly, real quick, we don't historically negotiate community partnerships for real estate deals at the county, typically, is my understanding, or for sewer reimbursement projects, but we thought it was important to ask, and Welcome Venture Park was a willing partner. So they're going to be offering 1 paid internship annually to a student at Central or Durham Tech. They're going to work with us on local hiring and workforce development initiatives with DPS to the tenants in the park, and they're going to facilitate introductions to the different tenants and the owners there to work with the county on possible workforce development partnerships and opportunities. So I'll stop there. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. So this is the this is our public hearing, which is open, by the way. I don't think I said those words, but we're open. We'll have questions from the commissioners. Okay. Hearing none, and we have no public comments signed up for this particular item. There's a public hearing. I will now close the public hearing, and we'll have comments from the commissioners. Commissioner Jacobs.
Thank you. I have a question. Could you tell us about what some of the current companies are who are there and the types of jobs they have, and what are, I guess you're in phase 1 and 2 now, but phase 3, or I don't know if you want to share that, but just curious about who is there now and what do you project will be there in the future in terms of the types of jobs.
Randy, would you like to come up and talk about that?
And, just how many companies are there and how many employees. We're familiar with the Trayburn Industrial Park and also RTP, but this will be our first partnership with the Venture Park.
Good evening. Excuse me, I was trying to get out of it, Matthew. You couldn't keep me there. Thank you. My name is Randy Warren. I'm with RW2 Development Company. We're the owner's representative for the Welcome Group, who is the developer of Welcome Venture Park. To answer your question directly, in phase one, our tenant mix is varied. We have some local home improvement type tenants, smaller tenants. We have a mobile communications local tenant that services the local community. We have a local Durham transfer and storage company that is relocating within our phase one. Also, we have a new tenant to the market, to not only North Carolina, but not only Durham, but also the state of North Carolina, Cavalier Logistics. They service the biopharmaceutical companies that are so predominantly located in RTP. So this is their first location here in North Carolina. We're talking to them about a second location at Welcome Venture Park because of its proximity. Also, Durham, Food Bank of Eastern and Central North Carolina, the Durham location just opened. We are going to have a grand opening, and hopefully many of you will be able to come and attend that in the month of April. But they've taken about 65,000 square feet and have started to process and take in food and distribute food out of that location. They're not completely ramped up to their full scale, but they're getting there. We're excited about that. As far as the jobs that are in phase one, we are probably somewhere over, and I'm sorry, I don't know this right off the top of my head, or somewhere over 55 to 60 full-time day jobs there. And they range from, that doesn't include, let me take Food Bank separately, because they have probably 50 or 60 volunteers a day coming through their facility that help facilitate their food distribution. But within our park, they range from warehouse workers, office staff, professional scientists in the Cavalier Logistics facilities. And we're also talking with other entertainment or sports-related entertainment type uses for our phase one, which they are considering the location primarily because of the growth of the residential and to service that market in the North Durham, Roxborough area. Did I answer your question?
Yes, thanks. I mean, it's great to hear about smaller businesses because, you know, typically in RTP and Traybird, they're bigger companies, they're national, and the fact that this park can serve some smaller businesses and, of course, still diversity. Sounds with the biopharma, that's part of the whole supply chain kind of pipeline around biopharma, which is great. And even the home improvement, you know, we're looking at in Durham Tech trying to focus on skilled trades. So, you know, that's even a potential internship right there. But anyway, we're happy to partner with you, and we consider, you know, things like internships and building workforce development pipeline with you all is one of the things that's one of our priorities as a board, and we recognize that you have to build these partnerships and these relationships. They don't just happen. So we're looking forward to partnering with you.
Thank you for that. I will point out that we have been in partnership with Durham Tech through a scholarship fund that we contributed early on in the project, specifically focusing the Bragtown community and the students there. Last year I had the chance to attend the first scholarship breakfast at Durham Tech and met the first reciprocant of the scholarship. And this year I plan to go again in April. This will be the second student that this fund has promoted through Durham Tech. And we've been working with that group and are excited about the internship opportunities that present themselves as we move forward. We talked about the full-time employment. I would just like to point out that currently in just phase two, which is about half the size of phase one, we probably have 150 to 200 daily construction employees on site. And that was true for phase one and will continue. We estimate that through the life of the construction project, we'll have over 3,000 construction employees visit and spend time on the project as well. So,
thank you.
Thank you.
And I also want to just thank our staff for making this possible and the creativity. Ellen, sitting over there, our transportation director, being able to implement the rail trail plan in a creative way. Thank you.
Commissioner Valentine.
Yes. Mr. Warren, I'd be less than candid if I didn't say that I've come around to Venture Park. We're happy to be a partner. We're looking forward to the tax revenues, particularly in the out years, the number of jobs that will come to our community as a result of your endeavor. I'm also pleased to say that you're one of the few, and I'm hoping that this will be the trend, that has a willingness to address some of our infrastructure needs far in advance. Also, to the extent that you are adding to our infrastructure, is going beyond Venture Park and also having an impact on a larger community. And so that doesn't go unnoticed. You mentioned the food bank. Commissioner Valentine was actually over there just last week. I spent some time at the food bank at my church. He said, we're going to a place called Venture Park. I said, I know where that is. And so we ventured over there. And so we thank you for partnering with the food bank. Now, my question is about transportation. What are the conversations about the transportation needs in that particular area of North Durham? I know initially when Venture Park was in its infancy, you talked about jobs, particularly for the Bragtown community, which isn't directly in the community, but close by. Are there any more discussions about, what's the plan for particularly public transportation to get there? Is there any discussions?
There have been discussions, I think, and thank you for pointing out the infrastructure investments that Welcome Group through Welcome Venture Park and working with the city and the county have created. The lift station improvements that we're talking about today are kind of like following the tail end of those. We've expanded roadway on Hamlin Road, expanded turn lanes at Old Oxford and Hamlin. We'll be expanding turn lanes and for safety at Glen School and Red Mill Road there as well. In the building of North Durham Parkway, the segment of North Durham Parkway that we've built within the project, we've also included, I think, 5 bus stops currently there to provide that basis for public transportation to and from the park, so we could further attract some of the local employees that don't have transportation readily available. Unfortunately, I would say that bus service doesn't come to our park. So we met early on with some of the transportation leaders and try to extend that. We've been told that once the once that we have enough generation of people there that would warrant the bus service, then we would get that. It's kind of chicken and egg. So we would love to see bus and public transportation to the park. I think a lot of our companies that are moving there for hiring purposes would love to see that as well. So we are open for discussions, happy to engage and happy to see how we can further create an opportunity for that public transportation to exist.
And so I'm going to attest to the improvements on the road, on Hamlin Road.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. And also the unintended impact of the natural trail or roadway that has existed as a result of your development. And so many members of the community are now using that for exercise and leisure. And so I don't know if that was intended or not, but the people in the community say thank you.
Well, I've noticed them early in the morning running and walking, and it's been nice. We've also we preserved about 35 acres of wetland streams, tree protection areas, which and through the sidewalk and multipath inclusion in our development, it does make for a nice walkway, and there are quite a few folks from the neighboring communities doing that. So thank you. Next time you're out at the food bank, please stop in and see us.
I'll do that.
I was going to ask Ellen just your question about transportation. Ellen, I'm sure she knows what I'm going to ask about. The on-demand transportation option.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up. Alan Beckman, Transportation Director. You're correct. There is public transportation, actually. to this area. It's the Go Durham Connect microtransit service that's funded by the county transit plan. There's a North Durham zone that covers a pretty large area where you can get an on-demand kind of shuttle within that zone. So you can. It's designed to kind of facilitate transportation to some of the areas that are, less dense and not on the fixed route bus service. But you can take that and then you can connect to a place like a Durham Regional where there's a bunch of transit routes that converge there, and then you can transfer to other routes. So,
how could we work with the Welcome Venture Park to help get that? Are you aware of that program, the on-demand service?
I am. I don't know. We can relay that information to our clients and tenants. I think it's really an employee and user based, request.
It would be great if we could work together to get that out to all the business owners so they know when they interview people, if they don't have transportation, that would be an option for them, possibly.
Happy to do that. Happy to work with Ellen and Matt and Andy on that.
All right. Thank you very much. So that is, we were on the outside of the public hearing, but that works. So with all the questions being asked, what I will do is I will accept a motion to authorize the county manager to negotiate and execute an economic development agreement with Welcome Venture Park, LLC.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. We have a motion on the floor that's been moved and properly seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please use the same sign. It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And that is it for our public hearings for tonight. We are moving forward with our other business, and that is advanced public comments on the fiscal year 26-27 budget. Manager Hager.
Good evening, commissioners. We will share with the board and community and those who are in attendance tonight a few highlights about our budget process and some of the opportunities and challenges we face as we go into the development process of the 26-27 budget. We have about 14 slides we'll share, and then we will allow for advanced public comments. We'll quickly talk about some documents that are in the resource materials within the website, share some expenditure and revenue highlights, and then talk about ways we can get public input. This is one of many ways tonight with the advanced public comments, and then some next steps. Next slide. And our budget is anchored on guiding principles, and those principles have been established many years ago, and there are about 16 of those principles. We'll not go through all of them, but they follow our county's financial policies and our budget policies. They reflect the strategic and operational planning that's within how we do our business in county government. And we also make sure that we maintain adequate fund reserves in case there are emergencies. Again, there are 16 principles. We'll not go through them. That is in the supplemental document as well as at the end of the slide deck as well. We started our budget development process back in the fall, shortly after, actually it's probably more summer, after we passed last year's budget, because we saw the challenges we would face with this current year. There have been many shifts and changes at the federal and state level that implicate what we can do and how we can perform services at the county level. And some of that was brought up today, how communities are very reliant on local governments. Counties often are close to those services that many of our residents need each day. Those principles all funded entities that received dollars went through a budget evaluation, and that's continuing to happen, looking at how they're funded, what dollars are locally funded, what's mandated, what's required, and then what's a priority because of community support. Looking at allocations to make sure that their alignment aligns with general statute requirements, whether it's a local mandate or board priorities, as well as looking at how do we assess operationally managing the budget, looking at span of control, benchmarking cost against peers where appropriate, and many other ways to determine are we as efficient as we should be, and if there are shifts required in the future, making sure that we've thought about those tough questions ahead of that shift. We've also been looking at strategies, contingency strategies, in the event there are federal and state or local revenue shortfalls. And as we go into this, and Mr. Lane will talk about some of those challenges, those are most important. And of course, we've continued to look at how do we refine our key performance indicators as we help share with our community members what we do and why we do it. Next slide. Our general fund is funded primarily through property taxes and sales taxes. They comprise almost 80% of our budget. The next highest revenue is intergovernmental revenues that are close to 9%. I did a quick look before I talked because this is probably the fourth time we've shared, and I always try to find a new fact. 10 years ago, in 2016-17, the intergovernmental revenues totaled 13.97%, almost 14%. And you see right there it's at 8.9%. So there's increased pressure on our property taxes and sales taxes. If you go to the next slide, we'll talk about expenditures. Counties and cities are structured with areas of focus. For the county, we have several key areas. Our budget is comprised of service level areas, many of which are within our human services, our public health department, our social services department, two of the largest human services areas, our office of the sheriff, Office of Emergency Management, as well as the libraries. Those are the largest departments. We have about 2,200 employees and 2,300 when you count all of them for all funds. Beyond those key areas, education is the next largest functional area that we support. And it has always been a tremendous commitment from this community for decades to support education. We're among the top funded counties per student in the state and have maintained that designation for decades. Durham Public Schools, Durham Technical Community College, and our commitment to pre-K cover those areas. And for a benchmark for that, when looking at it statewide in the education function, it's about 25% across when compared to our peers across the state, and we are at 35%. But again, that's a reflection of our values and our commitment to ensure that we support our talent pool that's coming along the pipeline. Next slide. I will next transition to Keith so he can share some fiscal updates.
Thank you, Manager Ager. Good evening, Commissioners. It feels a little bit like a road show, as the manager and I have had this presentation with various groups a number of times, and I think the last one we had was with the Board of Education. And I talked about being at an inflection point, and I think we are as a county, and you'll hear me use that term, and what I mean by that in summary is that the growth in revenue is not keeping up with the growth in expenditures, and we're getting to the point, if we continue doing some of the things that we want to do and have been doing, that we are looking at property tax rate increases every year just to keep doing things. So I call that an inflection point. What are some of the major issues that are happening right now for the county? We'll start with some intergovernmental revenue. side of things, I noticed the manager talked about how that amount as a part of the total general fund budget has decreased. It's going to continue to decrease. Part of the reasoning is we're spending down our ARPA dollars, and we have some holes to fill because ARPA dollars are no longer available. Pre-K support for this year, we subsidized a little bit with ARPA funding of $1.1 million, some pre-K support for DPS, and some school health nurses. Then we get to the big, beautiful bill, as some people have called it, at the federal level, that have caused some pain, that will cause some pain for Durham County. In particular, SNAP funding lost directly to the DINE program of $1.4 million, and that's 13 FTEs. It's a program that the county has had for decades that's now in danger of going away. There are other state grants that are being reduced for public health, $737,000 for child health grants. Some HIV and STI partner services is another $200,000. There's roughly another $1 million loss in revenue there, or a reduction of services. We look at the Department of Social Services side. We're looking at a $2 million estimated decrease in revenue funding because of the change in the cost share related to SNAP administrative costs. We're going from what was a 50% county cost share and 50% federal cost share is now going 25% federal and 75% county. That's a loss of $2 million in revenue. Some other bigger issues that may not happen next year but could happen in the year after that is some of the related to SNAP funding is related to error rates that the state is experiencing right now. And all I want you to see is that circle down at the bottom. Depending on the error rate that the state experiences with this SNAP administrative costs, Durham County could lose anywhere from $3.8 million to $11.5 million. That's not come to fruition yet, and that error rate could stay under the federal guideline minimum. But if it doesn't, this is potentially on the table. That's a major revenue loss. Thank you. So, larger revenue issues. We just went over intergovernmental revenues. Remember, the manager showed you our two major revenue sources, property tax and sales tax, make up 80% of all our revenue. Those are the key revenue sources that sort of drive everything that we think about. Economic growth in the county sort of drives sales tax growth. That growth is slowing, and we see it in sales tax growth revenue, and I'll show you a slide in a few minutes that sort of exemplifies that. Our local property market is growing, and thank goodness it is. It's not growing quite as fast as it was 5 years ago. And even though it has grown significantly, there's still been some heartache and around revaluation process and how much that has hurt some people. So even when growth is a good thing, it has some issues with it as well. Occupancy tax revenue, we talk about we're in the second year of a 3-year decrease of that amount to zero as that money now goes to Discover Durham, I believe. And that funding normally goes to support our capital projects, and we have to find and make up that revenue somewhere else. Intergovernmental revenue we just talked about. Ultimately, what I would sum it up and say is we're seeing growing revenue variability. What I mean by that is we cannot count on standard growth every year that you can then build upon and feel comfortable with. Our revenue growth is slowing. It's a little bit more chaotic, and I don't see the chaos ending anytime soon, at the federal level in particular, and even at the state level. This is a complicated slide. It's very impressive. David and I are really proud of it. All I need you to note is the blue columns. That is new sales tax revenue that the county experienced in that year to be used by county commissioners to pay for salary increases, to pay for health insurance increases, to expand funding for Durham Public Schools, to pay for new positions. What I'd like you to notice, if this little red, is look at the amount of growth in the past 3 years, including 26, 27, versus previous years. It's not there. Remember, 80% of our revenue comes from property tax and from sales tax. And so our second biggest revenue source over the last 2 years, and what I'm estimating for 26, 27 coming up, is practically zero. $770,000 in new sales tax revenue is not enough to grow, to pay for the cost of expenditure increases that the county has. much less consider new initiatives, like EMS needing a whole new ambulance group out there, which is like 2 ambulances and 12 people, and we could go on and on about the different needs that the county departments has. Can't be funded with only $770,000 in new revenue. Property tax revenue, that's the other side of that 80% coin. That's the only other place that we have as a county to find revenue, significant revenue increases. And what I'd like for you to notice there is, again, it's the columns that matter, and the blue part of that column is growth in property tax revenue without a property tax rate increase. That's natural growth in property tax revenue. And Kiara can help explain that at a later date, but basically that we get natural growth in property tax revenue when new buildings get built every year, new houses come online, or a building that was half built gets completed. So we're still growing in that natural growth, but what I'd like you to note is the green part of each of those columns, that's additional property tax revenue that the board has chosen to apply through a property tax rate increase to meet the needs, the expenditure needs the county has. And what I would ask you to note is look at the 5 years, this is roughly a 10-year graph, look at the first 5 years versus the second 5 years. And in particular, look at the last 2 years. The amount of additional property tax needed by the county to support the services asked for by citizens and desired by the county commissioners has needed a significant property tax rate increase the last 2 years. What does 1 cent on the tax rate bring in? $8.8 million. Just have that in your back pocket. Half of that, if you did a half-cent tax rate increase in 26-27, it would bring in $4.4 million. 1 cent brings in 8.8. We're going back to the property tax rate increases. What I would like for you to know is look at that little red circle down at the bottom of that middle table. The last 2 property tax rate increases for Durham County have been the highest tax rate increases percentage-wise in the last 30 years. We're at an inflection point where we're depending on property tax rate increases to supply the necessary revenue to meet the needs of Durham County residents and the Board of County Commissioners. The question that everyone has to ponder is that sustainable? I will also remind the commissioners, I told you this at the board retreat, between the city and the county in the last 3 years, the property tax rate has gone up 20 cents, or about 19%. That's not accounting for revaluation. So literally everyone in the county, or almost everyone in the county, has had a close to a 20% property tax bill increase if you're a city resident. What are the 26-27 estimates looking like? Let's sum it up by saying that our office, when we look at some key revenues and some key growth and expenditures that we have to pay for, that we see $13.5 million in expenditure increases that we have to take care of. Those are benefits cost increases, some loss in funding, some other places that we have to fill up. But I only am seeing $8.7 million in new revenue between the property tax growth, sales tax growth, and loss in some other revenues. I'm only seeing $8.7 million in new revenue to pay for that $13.5 million in known expenditure increases. The way I would frame it is I'm already in a hole $5 million. Before I even get to even ground, I'm in a hole I've got to climb out of just to get to even ground. And this does not include any expansion requests yet for education, which, by the way, DPS asked for $19+ million in additional funding from the county. This difference right here does not include that. Does not include any expansion request for any county department yet, nor does it include salary and benefits cost increase, related benefits cost increases. So we have some hard decisions to make as a county. We are at an inflection point. Again, you can always go back and raise the property tax rate and meet some of this difference, but there are hard choices ahead. What are some of the key budget takeaways? Slowing revenue and quickening expenditure growth. Economic indicators point to potential for further challenges. It's a little chaotic out there, and I don't see that changing for the next 2 to 3 years. We need to consider long-term sustainability. I say this every time. The decisions you make today have long-lasting ramifications, and sometimes you have to make tough decisions now to ensure sustainability, fiscal sustainability into the future. We have to begin prioritizing early. The manager and management team have done a great job of that, along with our office and some other ones. We have some difficult decisions coming. We're going to have to say no to certain things or figure out unique ways to pay for certain things. We have to begin those strategic discussions immediately, which we are. And we're looking forward to hearing from citizens about some of those strategic discussions we need to have. Manager spoke of briefly, we're having monitoring quarterly reports for any earlier warning signs. I don't see anything terrible yet. We're not stretched too thin yet, but I am concerned and we're paying attention. We will need to probably, to keep our long-term sustainability, fiscal sustainability in line, we'll probably need to limit some of our mid-year fund balance amendments. What does that mean? When departments come to you with a surprise request or something new that's exciting and they want to do, where do we find those funds? We usually go to our savings account, which is fund balance, and we appropriate that fund balance to do it. We may need to be a little more judicious in doling out those funds when they are requested. And ultimately, again, we have to prioritize our long-term fiscal sustainability. What are some of the headwinds in the next 5 years? We've got a huge ERP implementation process to come. We get one shot to do that correctly, and we need to get it right or it will hold us back for a while. So I know the manager is laser focused on that and want to make sure it's a success. ARPA backfill. We are going to have a lot of nonprofits coming to you that are going to be missing what was funded with ARPA dollars and expecting you to backfill. I just showed you one of the slides where the county's already got to find close to $2 to $3 million of backfilled ARPA dollars that we used this year and previous years. We have tax rate increases needed just to pay for the debt service on the 22 GO bonds in our CIP. We have other areas pressing that will need to be funded. Building renovations for Durham Public Schools, buildings for DTCC, renovations of some of our own buildings. This detention center across the street, while working right now, is close to, 40 years old? It gives me nightmares in terms of how much the cost of keeping that up or doing something new. So we have major issues also on a whole nother side of the budget, which is the capital improvement plan. We have to keep our fiscal foundation in order, keep our fund balance at the right levels, keep our AAA bond rating so we can get the lowest interest rates possible. We have, and I'll say it again, there are a lot of state and federal changes happening right now, and it's a little chaotic. We have stagnating revenue growth. There's a certain amount of mission creep in Durham County. What I mean by that, versus mandated services we have to provide versus the non-mandated services we like to provide in addition to the things that we have to do. We've had a good 10, 15, 20-year run in revenue growth as we have matured into a hustling and bustling city. Those times may be slowing down, and we may have to consider what services we support in the future. Are we going to support better the mandated services we have, or we continue to spread our services thin and charge residents for the price of that sort of expansion of services? We have some macroeconomic changes, inflation. Goodness gracious, who knows what wars in the Middle East may or may not do in terms of costing us down the line in any number of different ways. And yet we still have population growth. But I will note that the population growth, and I think I showed you a slide, our population growth is largely going to be in an older age group. It's not so much younger people, it's largely older folks. And we'll have to figure out how that affects us. The budget calendar. We are currently in meetings, and we're in the last stages of departments meeting with the manager, and where they are requesting dollars that the manager quietly smiles at and says, we'll see, as she knows, and has told them consistently we have very few dollars available for the many requests. The key thing to note is that we will have a Durham County virtual budget discussion on March 30th. May the 11th is the key date where the manager will present to you, the board, her manager's recommended budget, and then we will have a month of meetings with the board where you will discuss the manager's budget and make changes as you see fit, and hopefully we will approve a budget on June the 8th. One last thing to note, that the manager, I don't know what happened there, but we have a budget survey that you can go find online. I know that I saw in the agenda packet, there's a link to that budget survey, so even if you don't have statements you want to make if you're a resident of Durham County tonight, or even at the virtual meeting on March the 30th, you can always go to this survey and write down your expectations, your wants, your hopes and dreams on that survey. And you can use this quick QR code to get there. And with that, Manager Hager, I'm done.
Thank you so much, Keith. And those are our remarks, and we welcome the comments.
All righty. Commissioners, do you have any comments? We have one public comment tonight, but do we have commissioner comments? Go ahead. Vice Chair Alon.
Yeah, I know we've gotten variations of this presentation ourselves, but I feel like I always learn something new every time we go through it myself. I did have a question for Budget Director Keith. I see him running away from us, or David, or Manager Hager, where just provide clarification, the slide that says, from the new tax revenue growth of like new construction, new properties of $10 million, that's not like the net revenue or like balance to say, okay, we're building these new homes and these new families coming in, but also we have to provide all those new families and new community members services. So it's not like the net of like taking out those costs, because there is cost to also that revenue.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's always costs indirectly or directly related to that new revenue coming in, which is like, yes, you need more EMS ambulances out on the road for that. It's also why you do economic development. You hope to get certain buildings that have high dollar valuation that bring in high tax revenue but don't press on services quite as much. That's the wonderful art and science to mixing and matching residential development versus commercial development.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to provide clarification on that, because I think when I was reading it, even though we've heard it so many times, I was just like, so that folks are like, oh, that's $10 million that's just like up for grabs, that has no strings attached. That's $10 million in revenue, but we also have to provide services, resources to those construction neighborhoods. Yeah.
Yeah, Commissioner Burton.
Yes, the question I have is about the ratio of commercial properties to residential properties. Like, I know, Kiara, you may know the answer, like how many commercial properties do we have in Durham County? I know you shared that number before, and the number of residential in Durham, or can you get that number for us again?
I can get the specifics, but that is close to roughly 10,000 commercial, and then the rest will be residential. And we're talking about 130,000 parcels.
Yeah, that's not a lot. So it's like we're depending on residential property owners to carry us, correct? Is that
correct? And then some of that's vacant land versus improved land. So I have to give you the exact figures, but it is definitely about 10,000 commercial properties, and that is improved and vacant.
Thank you.
I would ask that, I'm sorry, Kiara, real quick. The trend, though, has been that there's been more residential growth than commercial growth, and that is, I think, what you're getting at. The RTP used to provide significant commercial property valuation when it was doing different things 10 years ago. Also, office space. I think we talked about some of the vacancies in the office space has caused the valuation of some of those commercial properties not to grow at the level. So what that does do ultimately is put pressure on residential property and the tax rate to be supported by residential property to go up to make up for some of those losses.
And so it's important to note as well, although it's 10,000 parcels, we look at what's the value of those parcels. And so that's real important. And so our mix of valuation of residential to commercial has been in a solid position over the years. And we can confirm that mix.
Yeah, that'll be helpful, because when talking to our residents, letting them know that's kind of where we are in Durham County, particularly when they ask questions around are commercial businesses paying their fair share and things like that. So, thank you.
Commissioner Jacobs.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that this budget information is being presented and shared with the public. We received this at a budget work session or budget retreat, and I'm really glad. I think we haven't really done this like this before, with the public hearing? Did we do this before?
It's been, the last time we did this was in 2015, 16. But
okay.
So it's been
10
quite
years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Okay, so I appreciate that. I appreciate the survey, that you all are going to do this virtual meeting, and trying to make it as easy as possible for residents to receive this information and also to provide input. So thank you to our staff. And I just want to say that our budget director is doing his job. But I want to say to the residents that we understand that we are in challenging times, but this is a national trend. And Durham County is not isolated. We are part of what's happening in counties all over the United States, just from a macro level. And also, I would say, especially in North Carolina, where we have seen our state government, since I've been a county commissioner since 2012, we have seen the state reneging on their responsibility to fund public education, not just the operating costs and the personnel costs, but also the capital improvements related to school needs, maintenance, and repairs. And that is one of the biggest driving factors that we see. When we looked at those numbers from the last 2 years of why there have been such high tax increases and why the budget needs were so high, and they have been directly related to funding for Durham Public Schools. So I think it's important that people see the bigger context here. And I want to say on a positive note that we are also doing great things in Durham County to make sure that we have a diverse economic base, to make sure that we are having good jobs here for our residents. That's something that the county is very intentional about. We just had the Welcome Venture Park here. We are also investing upstream in things like Durham Pre-K, because we understand that we have to invest in our future. And we are also trying to look at things like how do we create more tourism here so that visitors and other people can help support our businesses and generate sales tax revenue. And related to what the manager said, I think it is important to look at the distribution of our tax rate, because compared to a lot of other counties, we actually have a very diverse tax base. And that's something else that we are very aware of, and that's why we support economic development in places like Trayburn and RTP and now the Welcome Park. I do think and I also want to applaud what our staff does, which is they go after grant funding. They're fantastic at looking at all these other sources of funding. We saw that tonight as well. I want to also talk about our staff looking at redundancies and effectiveness and efficiency. We have to do that, and that's why we're looking at consolidating our 911 center. And these are all things that we'll continue to do. So, and Keith, we appreciate you keeping us grounded, but I also want to really emphasize that it's not all gloom and doom, and we're going to get through this together. And Durham is still very fortunate compared to other places in the state and in this country, and we will keep making the key investments that we need to do to have a bright future for everyone in our community. Thank you.
Commissioner Valentine.
Yes, Director Lane, thank you for your presentation. I just have three sort of questions. One, you keep referring to an inflection point. So how am I to understand the inflection point in light of the larger discussion around property tax reform in our state? I mean, this is a trend across our nation. but I believe there is going to be action in this particular area, and so that's sort of the big elephant. And so, what are we discussing relative to that?
I'm not including that discussion. I know I've seen a few of those meetings on my computer screen that the state legislature has had, and they are disconcerting at best from a local government standpoint. The inflection point I mean is just for Durham County in terms of its growth in expenditures and desires and needs, and particularly supporting Durham Public Schools. The ability to do that using natural growth and revenue has all but dissipated, and we're at the point of needing property tax rate increases every year, potentially just to handle some things that we used to be able to in the past handle with natural growth. That's the inflection point I'm talking about. When I take into account potential changes at the state level, constitutional amendments and whatnot, then it becomes a whole different ballgame. It may limit your ability as commissioners to raise taxes, but it does not limit expenditure growth.
Right.
And then we are looking at significantly scaling back the services we provide if you're limited in the revenue growth that you have. That is my deep concern. Unless we bring in some magical commercial property valuations of sorts, which I'm sure would put a high priority on. But that's a whole different ballgame, what they're talking about at the state level. And I'm deeply concerned that, as well-meaning as many of those legislators are, they do not understand the nuance and some of the possible downstream effects of some of the choices they are pondering at this moment. It is quite scary, frankly.
Yeah. Thank you for that context. I think that our residents need to be aware. Second, you talked about the cost sharing shift as it relates to the SNAP program, SNAP benefits program. And you also talked about additional costs that the county would have to bear with regards to administrative error rates. I think that the part that our citizens need to know is that error rate is not just specific to Durham County. Is that correct?
Statewide, yes, sir.
Statewide.
Yeah.
And so if Durham County is doing their part,
right,
doesn't
but
matter.
other parts of the state are not,
we will
county is still going to be
paying a price. Yes,
paying
sir.
a price. All right. I just want to make sure I was clear. My colleagues just moments ago talked about tourism. And so some of our occupancy tax funds are going to an alternate source with the thought that the return on investment in sales tax will occur. When do we believe that we'll have some return on our investment with respect to that?
I am not quite the person to answer that question. I don't know when it will be specifically. That's a long-term investment of those occupancy tax dollars. It remains to be seen how and when those dollars would come back to us and increase tourism. I can't answer that directly because it just depends. So
on the consent agenda today, one of the items talked about surpluses in sales tax and occupancy tax for this year. And so some of that is coming back in addition to the small percentage that we're receiving today, right?
Yes, sir.
But in the out years, we'll be receiving nothing.
Correct.
What is that out year today?
Well, next year, 26-27, or is it 27-28, David? I think we've built in, the second year is 26-27. The third year, we will go to zero in 27-28. There will be no money collected.
Okay.
No overcollection, no anything. At that point, the full $6 to $7 million amount, I think that's roughly the estimate of occupancy tax, will be going to Discover Durham.
County Manager, would you like to add anything with regards to that discussion?
I would say that when the decision was made to shift those dollars to Discover Durham, the intent was to create a strategy so that years down the road, dollars would be generated through expansion of new infrastructure that would come to the community.
I can respond as our liaison to the Discover Durham board. Right now, there is a festival study going on, also a sports facility study, and also convention center. So these, again, are long-term investments, but in the short term, they are going to be rolling out a grants program related to festivals this coming year. So there are some things that are going to start happening very soon, very quickly, that hopefully we'll see the direct benefits of soon. But then there's some very long-term types of investments that are being looked at.
And if I may also add, sorry about that, as the liaison for the Downtown Durham Inc. Board for the county, I know that Nicole Thompson has the State of Downtown Durham coming up on April 22nd, because some of the work of this transit, of the tourism tax dollars, is adjacent to the work of Downtown Durham Inc. to help support our local businesses in Downtown Durham and the hotels, especially bringing in more folks to downtown, to the hotels around the community, but then also getting them to support the local businesses and shop local and generate more tax revenue. So that's an opportunity to also learn about how, specifically in downtown, some of that work is going to be hopefully coming forward.
Okay.
I did have another
Go ahead.
question also. Just wanted to note that, well, first wanted to piggyback off of a comment Commissioner Jacobs sent, and also asking for the budget document for our budget retreat, I think, could we add in the commissioner priority documents to that that county Legistar page? So I think it would be also good, since it's a lot of the documents of the presentations from staff, but also for the community to be able to see these are also the priorities the commissioners are bringing forward and advocating for alongside staff. And the tax page of showing the tax rate increases over the years, that is solely Durham County, right? That is not the city. Yeah, and so what was the city last year? Because I know not everyone is in the city, but most of our residents are in the city of where we probably hit close, wasn't the city 3 or 4% last year?
It was a 4 or 5 cent tax rate increase. I think the net total between the city and the county was 8 or 9 cents. I know it was not quite double figures, but within spitting distance. So it was 8 or 9 cents total.
I think it'd be, and I know it's again a city, but maybe in some of our slides, to include that also, because we're not just, these tax rate increases aren't just in a silo, since we are this city-county community, that the folks who are being hit with the county taxes, majority of them are also being hit with the city tax rate increases too.
Okay. All right, so that was our comments. Now our public comment comes from Carl Newman.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Carl Newman. I am here tonight in my capacity as the Vice Chair of the Durham County Library Board of Trustees. It has been a big calendar year for the library because, of course, we got our new Library System Director, Dana Connors, who started on January 6th. And I think that her budget asks for the library system were due around the time she knew which printer she printed to. However, she has already had the opportunity to discuss with the Board of Trustees at the February meeting the library's asks for this year, which I know are in your departmental budgets. Candidly, we've been good kids in class and made budget asks in line with what we know is and have heard why it's going to be such a tough budget year. I just came here tonight on behalf of the Board of Trustees in support of the library system as you go through this budget process to remind you of a few things about the library, the first of which is in the last several budget cycles, they have been your 5th largest county department, roughly flat in full-time equivalents, and that remains still the case. And in that time, most recently in the last year, we've added back Sunday hours, which we are all thrilled about, and I know the community here in Durham is too. However, that's just at Main Library, and they have had to do that without any additional staff. And the last thing that I do want to say, there's 2 things in the budget that, talking with Dana about the libraries asked. One is a facilities fee that is designed to do be a multi-year pot of money to work on projects for facilities expenses. Unfortunately, at Stanford L. Warren Library and elsewhere in public library buildings, we sort of know that deferred maintenance sometimes becomes maintenance delayed, and then actually now it's really expensive because we should have done it before. And so I'd ask, even to the extent you think of that as new money, we think it's really important for the library facilities as physical places that are sort of an extra room for everyone in Durham to meet. And the last thing that I'll say, of course, is, we know that a budget is not a popularity contest. But if it were, if you look at just about any resident survey you've ever done, it'll probably tell you that the most beloved branch in your Durham County government tree is the Durham County Library System. And so we appreciate this body and board's support of the library over these last few years. We would hope to encourage you to continue in that trend, even in what we know will be a hard year for the county's budget. That's all I had to say.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Newman. And thank you for hanging in there with us today for the end of the meeting here. All right. That was for information, right? Yeah. That was for information, so we'll move forward. The next item on our agenda is board and commissions appointments. Attorney Williamson.
Good evening. We have 5 boards here where we have where the board has selected its candidate. For the Alliance Board of Directors, the board has selected Vandana Munshi. For the Durham Convention Center Authority, the board has selected Kamala Uzel. For the Durham County Women's Commission, we have 2 positions available. The board has selected Valerie Parham Thompson and Sarah Cunningham. For the Durham Cultural Advisory Board, the board has selected Mary Lou Flowers Schoen. And for the Historic Preservation Commission, the board has selected Nicholas Trepley. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Congratulations to all that were selected.
All right. Thank you very much. Next item on our agenda would be for items pulled from the consent agenda, but we did not have any of those. And the last item is the adjournment. I get confused. Do we vote to adjourn? All right. I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please use the same sign. Passes unanimously. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.